Welcome to the HawkCast with your host, AJ Hawk.
There you are. I'm recording. Nick Mangold. What's happening?
How's it going, man?
Good. So, Nick, actually, the thing that popped up to my mind right before we jumped on here, do you feel like you may be the John Daly of the NFL?
Ooh, I don't have his cool pants. I'm pretty boring although I do wear shorts in the winter, which is kind of odd. People yell at me at school a lot for doing that. And I don't smoke enough. Cigars, yeah, but although I wish I would have been around during the days when they had ashtrays in the locker rooms. That would have been pretty cool.
Well, I mean more like you're like the people's champ is what I feel is the persona that it's natural that I feel like people have given to you because you're such a relatable, big, burly man.
Well, I think it's a cuddly thing, you know? They just see it and see all cuddles. But yeah, I think, I don't know. It wasn't anything I tried to do, but especially being up here in New York, I think it was a breath of fresh air coming from Ohio, having that good Centerville blood. Gives you a good chance to kind of just show who you are, and very fortunate to be up here doing that.
So you are in Jersey right now, and it sounds like you're there to stay, huh?
Yeah, we're stuck here. I'd like to come back and mess with you in Ohio and, just roll by and pop in every once in a while. Especially I saw that you got that one little car, the 3-wheel thing.
Oh, I had that. I had it for a couple months. Yeah, it was more of a marketing type deal. Let you try it out. It's pretty fun.
Can you send me one? Can I do it?
What was it called? What was that called?
It was like a It wasn't the Razor because that's a scooter. It was Switchblade. No, Switchback.
You're on to something. Yeah, switch something. Of course they would. Yeah, just take a few pictures of it and then drive that thing around and try not to kill yourself. That's all they ask you to do.
I mean, that's pretty much how I spend every day, just trying not to kill myself.
It's a stick, though. You can drive stick, correct?
Of course. Okay. Am I a man's man? Yes.
You're one of the last few that can drive stick.
Try a stick. Well, my Chevelle is stick, and that's my baby. That was my baby before babies. I don't think you've ever seen it, since you don't come and visit.
What year is it?
1970. Chevelle.
Do you ever bring the kids in there?
No, Jenny won't let me. My wife.
Why not? Is it 1970? Is it? Did you redo it yourself? Did you have it already refurbished? What happened?
No, I found it in a place in Springfield. There's a classic car place out there. Some guy was selling it. He already had done everything. He actually switched it out. It was a 396. He put in the big block 454. But otherwise, it was original, so there's no seatbelts or anything. And apparently, you can't attach a car seat to something that doesn't have seatbelts.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess I can see that. How many cars do you have now?
That's my baby, and then I got the family mobile, the Griswold station wagon. Jenny's got her car, and then we also have a convertible that we like to tool around in.
You can fit in that thing? How tall are you now?
I'm still 6'4". Hasn't changed in 12 years. We splurged a while back. Ended up getting a gently used Bentley. And that thing, you can fit a whole. Had the car seat in there, which was pretty awesome. Matthew loves it, and so we bought that like 6 years ago. It's been awesome.
Wait, the 2-door convertible one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I know exactly what you're talking about. And you've had that for a while. So do you that's your date night car for you and Jenny?
Date night, if we can. That's the one. She does a lot of her errands in when she doesn't have the kids. So I wanted to buy like a sports car, and it was kind of getting to that point. I was like, I really want a sports car. And she found out how much I was looking to spend, and then she was like, you know what we could get, which I would use too? I was like, oh, what could we get? And guess what we got? What she wanted.
Well, you both want it though. Hey, do you happen to have a pair of like earbuds around near you right now?
Possibly.
I'm just because your audio is going like it'll be muffled and then clear, muffled, clear. And I'm wondering if you put a little ear set in, if it'll pick up on that mic and be actually clear.
Huh. Oh, with earbuds with a mic, I don't have.
Oh, okay.
I'm
You're
not.
good then.
Yeah.
Okay, it should be fine. Should be good. It'll clear up. It was all right. I was just checking. So, you're in Jersey. What you never thought about coming back and staying in Ohio, or I should say, Now, you moved to Jersey. I knew you loved it from day one, it seemed like. And what is it? What is it about Jersey?
Well, I think from starting out, like we wanted to go. When we first got to Long Island, I always envisioned, because you never know what's going to happen in the NFL, that we would bounce around a little bit and then we'd end up in Ohio. And so we were on Long Island for 2.5 years before moving to Jersey. And once we moved out to Jersey, the area that we found is very similar to where we grew up in Ohio. But it's older. So it's a nice area. There's good families, good schools. And we're close enough to the city where we can get in. As long as I know when I need to get in, I can get pretty much anywhere in the city in less than an hour. But we're far enough out where, we have yards and kids can play. And, so it's a great little area.
I got you. It's a best of both worlds. You can get to the city, but you still can raise a family in a normal area. Now, I remember, so people that don't know, we grew up together, college roommates, 4 straight years. I'm sure we'll get into some of that here in a few minutes. But I remember when you were drafted, 2006 first round, New York Jets, head coach Eric Mangini. And I just wonder, you played for Mangini for 2 or 3 years, and then you had Rex Ryan. Can you contrast those two guys? They seem very similar.
Yeah, they're exactly the same. Eric was he was a very disciplinary type coach, and you have to do it this way. And it was very business-like. Where Rex came in, he was much more free-flowing. He had that childlike love of the game, and he had fun with it. And it was something like, hey, if this goes away, it goes away, but I'm going to have fun doing it. I think that was the biggest difference between the two of them.
Now, what happened, so with Rex? It seems like when things are going well, it's amazing. This seems like the best place ever to play. It's a lot of fun. But then for some reason, places he's been, it seems to go wrong at some point. Like, what happens? Why can't you be that player's coach, fun guy, fun with the media the whole time, and just why does it never end well?
I think the tough part is you have to have a veteran team that can police itself with a coach like Rex, which I think he has learned after talking to him after being with him here at the Jets and then his little stint in Buffalo. You still, I think you can have fun, but you still have to be able to have some sort of disciplinary actions about you, because when you have a very veteran team, those guys are going to police it. But when you have a younger team, guys look towards the head coach for that, almost like calling in backup. Like, hey, this is how we do it, and if there's a problem, coach is going to say the same thing.
Well, you went through a lot of different situations during your time in New York that made national headlines. I feel like just locker room stuff. The Geno Smith got punched in the face. Was Rex there at the time?
No, that was Todd Bowles.
That was when Bowles just got there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now Bowles too. What was he like as a coach?
Bowles, he was kind of in between. He was Rex's, like in the he enjoyed the game, tried to treat everyone like men, but also at the same time he's got a good defensive mind, and tried to have the same discipline style of Eric. So there's similarities to both, and I think the tough part is after having 3 rookie head coaches, you see the growth that develops, because I'm sure you remember being a rookie and having no idea what was going on. And it took a little bit to learn, how to do things and how to go about your business. The same things for a head coach. They have to learn and they have to, figure out what works for them. And so I had the good fortune of seeing that 3 times over.
What was it like? What was the culture like on the Jets when you showed up your rookie year? Eric Mangini, first-time head coach. He's a Bill Belichick, the New England type coaching tree. What was the culture like when you first showed up, and who was the starting quarterback?
Starting quarterback was Chad Pennington, and he was, Chad was awesome. And it was the big thing with Eric is he was coming after Herm Edwards, and so it was more about changing the culture to fit that Belichick New England style, and how to get that done. And so, training camp that year was miserable, but it was a good eye opener to the NFL.
Yeah, that team though. I remember Bart Scott being on that defense at the time, wasn't he?
No, Bart didn't get there till 2009. He was Rex's first year.
Okay, this is a long time ago, man. Now that I think about it.
We had our linebacker then was John Vilma.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Lavernius Coles at wide receiver. We had Pete Kendall at left guard. He's an old head, Boston College guy. Trying to think who else we had there.
And you and DeBrickashaw Ferguson came in first round, both rookies at the same time. And then did you guys both start from day one?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were together.
What was he like? He retired, I know, a year or two ago. What was he like? He's a stud player. He seemed very, very quiet, at least publicly, to the media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a quiet guy. He's a very thoughtful guy. Won't speak before thinking something through and looking at it with 3 different angles. But he's also, he's a great guy. Like he's a really good person. He's got 2 little kids now who are just gorgeous. He's got 2 daughters. And so it's neat to see, just as we watch the growth together from Pee-wees up through where we are now, it was neat knowing Brick after the Senior Bowl, meeting him there, and then being able to play with him for 10 years to see the growth, just from that short period of time, from starting out as, rookies and then growing through being veterans, but also seeing, him get married, me get married, start having kids. It was pretty cool.
How does he interact with an O-line room? O-line rooms are special places. I've had a few different O-linemen on here, and I always say, you guys are you're on your own planet, just a bunch of big dudes that want to fart and make weird jokes that nobody else understands. And you said Brick wants to, before he speaks, he will think it through and look at it 3 different ways. That is not the norm when it comes to most offensive lineman rooms.
Yeah, he was definitely the outlier, but he was great because I think he kept us probably more sane than we would have been. If he hadn't been there, we'd probably do a bunch of other stupid stuff. But it was always kind of like having Brick, well, we can't do that because Brick won't like that. So it was probably a good balance, a good yin and yang.
How was it having Hard Knocks? What year was that they came to New York?
Hard Knocks was 2011, I think.
Did you enjoy the process?
I did. It was cool seeing. It was actually really neat seeing the process from, the show airs every week, and they only, after the first show, now the only footage they have to use is that following week. And so to see them take the footage, to be able to cut it down when they stop filming for that show and have to start filming for the next show, the production of it, and then seeing what gets produced, I thought was pretty cool, like the behind the scenes, see them setting up all the cameras, using the drones to get different footage. But I think in the end, Hard Knocks is a good look at things. But a lot of times, you want to eat the sausage. You just don't want to see it being made. And that's how I look at it, too, because you hate seeing guys either get hurt or get cut, get told that, hey, we think you're a great player, but you're just not a fit here. It's tough to watch.
Was it weird when they show the meeting rooms and they show like staff meetings and coaches are evaluating players going over stuff? I always felt like that would be awkward, I guess, if my name popped up in one of those staff meetings and there was cameras in there.
Yeah, it definitely would be. I was fortunate to bypass any of that, other than a quick clip of Rex saying that he saw me at Taco Bell after one of the games, which we were just sharing a couple of tacos. But it was. But at the same time, they kind of stick to storylines and they find, 5 guys that they're going to follow. You got your veteran who's been there forever on the bubble. You got your rookie coming in. You have, your outlandish personality guy. And so the other guys, it seems like, just kind of fly under the radar once they figure out who they want to showcase.
Did you see any guys trying to play it up for the camera or try to be one of those 5 characters?
Of course. I mean, that was going to happen. And as soon as you see it, you call it out, just so that they couldn't use the footage in the show, which was a lot of fun.
What about a practice? Were practices any different when, or at least maybe the first couple days, cameras were there? Were guys trying to go extra hard or get into fights to try to look good?
It happened a little bit more in the spring because they tape in the spring a little bit, or at least they did for us. And guys were kind of ramped up a little bit because, you don't have pads on or anything. But then after a while, I think because they were around during the spring, you just kind of forgot about it, and you didn't really notice it, and it was just kind of something that was in the background.
Now, how was your time having old Brett Favre put his hands
Favre,
behind you for one full season, correct, in New York?
yeah, one season in New York, it was really cool because I watched him growing up. You know, I was a big fan of Brett Favre's, and to have him come in and see not only the player that he was, but the celebrity and mystique around him was a neat experience.
Do you know where he lived when he played there?
I don't. And that was kind of one of the things that people always talked about was like, well, you know, Brett's not one of the guys. He doesn't hang out or anything like that. And I think at the time he was 40 and I was 24. So it was like, yeah, of course we're not going to hang out. Like we're on completely different wavelengths of what we're doing.
Yeah, I think he was in Green Bay my first 2 seasons. So I was 22, I think 23, and he was 37. 38 had been around forever, but he was around. Like, that was a thing people love to talk about, how, oh, he's got his own locker room and all this stuff. Yeah, he had little areas he could duck away and change if he wanted to, get away from the media, but he practiced every single day when he was in Green Bay. He never missed anything. He competed harder than anyone, I feel like. So I was like, man, none of these real stories, I don't think anyone on the inside really were the ones putting these stories out.
No, like, and I think everyone has a little spot where they can hide, and you know, you find in the facility where it's like, all right, you know, if I need to get away from something, I'll go over here. But yeah, Brett was the same way. I mean, it wasn't like he had his own private little cafeteria area, or you know, he was around just as everyone else was.
What was he like as a quarterback compared to other guys? I guess just as far as like leading the huddle, running everything. Does he have is it a different feel when he's in there calling the plays?
Yeah, he was. I mean, it was funny because he was learning. He was always a West Coast system guy, and our coordinator at the time, I don't know what kind of system he was running, but it was all. It was a digit system for the receivers, and West Coast has all the names for the route trees, and so Brett was like, "I'm not learning digits. Like you're gonna have to figure out what I'm saying, and you're gonna have to make it work." And so there would be times where he'd come in and huddle, especially like early on in training camp, where he would give like half the formation and some sort of pass play, and then that was like some sort of pass route combination, and that was it. And we'd sit there like, well, Brett, what protection do you want? I don't know. Like, whatever you guys want. Like, well, do we have a running back or not? And it's like, yeah, sure, you can have the running back. I'm like, all right, we'll go with this protection. And it was just kind of like the gunslinger Wild Wild West. Like, we'll make it up as we go, which was fun.
Does that put more on your plate as the center? That's usually the guy setting protections and calling out the mic and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it did, and it made me learn a little bit more as we were going along to try to figure out, all right, you know, if Brett wants a tight end in the protection, which protections do we have with a tight end, and you know, what direction is it, learning formations and everything. So it probably ended up helping me out.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. It probably wasn't real easy at first, but ultimately, when you get put to a test like that, okay, I got to figure out a lot more. I got to understand this offense inside and out. What about as a center? Was your like responsibility, did it change from when you were younger to older? A lot of people will talk about how the center makes a lot of calls at the line. Were you usually that guy making the calls, or was it the quarterback? How did it work?
Yeah, you know, I think Chad did a great job my rookie year of helping me along and letting me make the calls, but if he heard something wrong, he'd override me. But then by the time, you know, the last couple of years, I had such a grasp of offense and everything. They were kind of like, all right, Nick, you do whatever. And, you know, I think that came from having Chad teach me, you know, good base, and then having Brett come in and make me learn more, and then dealing with a rookie and Sanchez, and then another rookie in Gino. You know, by the time Fitzpatrick came around, who was our age, it was like, well, this is downright easy because, you know, I don't have to dummy it up for anybody.
What does it mean when someone says a center makes the calls? What do you do? Like, once you break the huddle, what's your responsibility?
So the responsibility, as you go out, you come up to the line, you have your play call, you have your protection, you know what you're working with. You scan the defense, you look at, you know, the front, the defensive line that you're facing. You check out the safeties. You typically would point out the middle linebacker, the Mike, and then you adjust your calls. If there's a safety rotation going the opposite direction, you can adjust your calls to get that blocked up. And, you know, this all kind of happens within, you know, 10 seconds at best. and then you go.
Did you learn how to do that in college?
Yeah, we had in college, Jim Bowman was great, old Bowles, of getting me prepared for, what would be required. I don't think we were as in depth in college. It went much more deeper as NFL because you have the different defenses, you have everything that coming at you. That it makes it that much more tricky.
Can you play center in the NFL if you are stupid and not smart?
It's very difficult. I think you can, but then I think more gets put on the quarterback and or your guards to try to help out. It makes life much more difficult if you don't have a center that could run the show and be the second quarterback of the offense.
Especially if a team has a young quarterback or they want to bring in a rookie. If they have a center that they don't trust, I feel like it would really, they would struggle. That offense would struggle greatly. Like, hey, we got to teach this rookie just trying to figure out where he's at, and he's also has to take on so much more if you don't have a center up there making the calls, like you said.
Yeah, and I think that's got to be a big thing, especially as you look at the draft and you think of teams trying to find the rookie franchise quarterback. You need to be prepared before you make that decision. I mean, and that's something you got to have. I truly believe you need to have a veteran center available if you are going to bring a rookie quarterback in, because you need someone to help them and take a lot of the responsibilities off of them, so that way they can keep their head from spinning too much and get out there and perform.
What's it like to have a young rookie quarterback come in? I know you and Sanchez are really. I know you've been close in the past. I assume you still are. What's it like having a guy like that come in and so he's supposed to be the guy, and he had a lot of success early on. Like what's it like dealing with not only like the celebrity that he gets in New York and also just trying to figure out how to be an NFL quarterback?
Yeah, it's such a process, and it's amazing, how much pressure gets put on these guys that are picked so high as quarterbacks. Because he came in, I think his head was definitely spinning his rookie year. We did a lot for him. There was a lot of times where we'd have a run check, that could go either way, and he'd ask us up front which way we should run the ball, which was pretty funny.
How do you tell him? How do you tell him when he's already under center?
You point,
Okay.
and we were playing the specific one I remember. We were playing in Oakland. We're on like the 7-yard line going in. And it was a right-left run check. And he literally, as we're at the line of scrimmage, hey, Nick, which way should we go? And I just pointed out to the left. He made the check. We ended up scoring, which, toot my horn. But that happened more times than I'd like to admit. And so it was interesting, seeing that growth and seeing going from head spinning, not knowing checks, to then trying to learn the offense throughout, like the way that a quarterback should know it. And I think, Mark had a hard time with it was learning the offense, but then, we switched and we changed offensive coordinators, and then, we changed offensive coordinators again. And I feel like a lot of times consistency is kind of lost in the NFL. That can hurt sometimes more than it helps. When you're changing quarterback coaches, you're changing offensive coordinators, you're changing wide receivers, offensive linemen. Like, there's something to be said about having cohesive units, for multiple years at a time.
What's it like for you, like an O lineman, to switch coordinators? I think a lot of people feel like, oh, football's football. It's not a big deal. But to install a completely different playbook, a different language you're basically using, there's a lot on it. If you do that multiple times over 3, 4, 5 years, I can't imagine how difficult that must be.
Yeah, it gets tricky. I think one of the biggest things I learned from having multiple coordinators is it's very similar to like the Rosetta Stone. Once you can figure out what everything translates to, it makes life a lot easier. Instead of just learning it from scratch, you can say, all right, this is what this means in this system, so this is what that means in this system. And that made life a lot easier switching coordinators. But it is different, because every coordinator has their own system and their own language, but then B, their own philosophy. And you might get used to one philosophy of, hey, this is how we're going to do things. And then someone comes in and like, we're going to do it this way. And you're like, well, I think the other way works, but that's the coach, and that's what you have to do. So I think there's a lot that goes into coaching changes that gets glossed over. I think a lot of times by fans and even media. I don't think a lot of times beat writers really pick up on how much it's always this guy's going to be great because this happened, so it has to be perfect here. And instead of like actually diving in and being like, all right, what really entails a coaching change?
Well, no, you know how it is. You guys get paid all that money. You should be able to pick up another playbook. What are you, dumb? That's all it is.
What are you, one of them dumb meatheads that, pick things up and put them down?
Well, some linemen are that way, Nick. I don't feel like centers are, though. Centers generally can't be that guy. Centers are usually like not the calming influence always, but like, okay, if I have a real question, I can come to the center.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what really excited me about the position, because you don't really get that in high school all that much, and in college a little bit. But once you got to the NFL, you really did become, all right, if I have a question, which might sound stupid, so I don't want to go ask the coach because then the coach is going to go tell the GM that I'm stupid. So why don't I just go ask the center? And, having to handle those questions and, be able to be that guy was really exciting for me.
Did you ever play another position?
Nope. Couldn't do it.
Center from day one. I feel so. Do you feel like you were born, your body is built to play center? Just your leg length, your torso length, your arm length. I feel like you were put on the earth to play center.
Are you saying something about my long torso now?
I feel like honestly, I evaluate centers now like from you. I'm like, okay, I'm looking at Nick. And I would know this because I've known you forever. And I would always talk about I feel like we could wear the same jeans in length, even though you're 4 inches taller than me. But you're damn all torso and upper body. I'm like, that's why Nick's so good. Like, obviously you're a great player, but I'm like, his body was made for this one position.
Yeah, my short, stocky legs just worked out perfectly.
And your arms are, who knows? You're like Michael Jordan's wingspan.
Close. But yeah, I think I had the good fortune back in 7th grade to where they said, we need a center. Can anyone do it? And I raised my hand and said, I'll try, and never looked back. So, I don't know if it was the good Lord making the mixture of my body the way it was, or just dumb luck of some coach being like, hey, we need someone to snap the ball. Who can do it? But, it worked out relatively well.
Yeah, I'd say it worked out well for you. Maybe a little bit. What about your the pictures I saw of you and Fitzpatrick and your boys at that? Was it the Rangers hockey game when you were leaning over yelling at the opposing bench? What happened there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was it was right after the season. You always offensive lines were all the same. We always do a rookie dinner, and this was the first time where it was like, hey, after dinner we should go to a game of some sort, like a basketball game, hockey game. It's New York. There's always something going on. And it finally dawned on us, yeah, that'd be an awesome idea. So we went to dinner, we had a grand old time, and we went to the Garden, and they put us right behind the opposing bench. And it was the first time that it dawned on me, it'd been 9-10 years in the NFL. And you go to opposing stadiums, you're going to take heat. You're going to get heckled. People are going to be yelling things at you. And, you always tell guys, like, don't interact with them because that makes it worse. Like, as soon as you acknowledge a heckler, like, that only makes it worse. And so I'm sitting there and I'm sitting behind the glass. I'm like, I could reach out and touch these guys. Like, this is how close I am. And then it dawned on me, it was like, I'm going to let out 10 years of frustrations of getting heckled into one hockey game. And so, it just started small, and it was we had a couple of kids sitting around us. So it was all PC. But it was just, once you get someone and, you're making fun of like the spelling of the name or, their eyebrows or something like that. And we got a couple of them to turn around, and that was like throwing chum into the water, and the Sharks just went crazy.
What team were they playing?
It was the Dallas Stars.
Okay. So did you know anybody on that team? it was all off the top of your head right there? You didn't prepare? Right
off the cuff. It was just seeing who was sitting there. Especially the guys that are like down the roster and they're sitting there the whole time. They were the ones that got it the worst because, they were getting beat too. So, you especially go in like, well, you guys are getting smashed and you still can't get in the game. You must really suck. And, you just those little things. And, you get it enough where you get someone to turn around, and then it's like free game.
Yeah, don't engage, especially with the big Neanderthal with the beard and the hat on right behind us. Like, and you guys all had Rangers jerseys on though, didn't you? Did they give those to you?
No, I've had a Rangers jersey for a handful of years. So it was just they're like, we're going to a game. I was like, all right, I'm putting on my Rangers jersey because you're a fan. You throw the jersey on.
Did the rest of the people in the garden? I assume that they started to notice what was going on, and people probably started to egg you on or clap, or they had to notice you doing this, right?
Oh yeah, it was definitely noticed and appreciated. I think too, because a lot of times you see, especially like the really good seats, are all corporate seats, and those end up being people that aren't really paying attention or are there for trying to do business or something. And so I think people appreciated the fan side of having that opportunity to be in there and trying to help your team win.
Yeah, you did it. You willed them to victory that day.
Willed them to victory. I dominated.
Go Rangers. Yeah. Also, hey, so how much money did you get paid when you were in college?
Well, let's see here. So when we were in college, I earned exactly $0. And so much so, remember that we had like a Bud Light bottle that had all the change in it?
Oh, yeah.
And I was taking change out of there so I could go to Chipotle to get my chicken burrito. And so that was, it wasn't until after our senior year that I found out that we could get paid for doing stuff.
I assume while you were in the league, didn't other players just assume that you got paid a bunch of money from agents and boosters while you were in college?
Yeah, and it always seemed to be an Ohio State thing, which was funny. Like, oh, you Ohio State guys got paid. And I was like, I don't remember getting paid. But it was funny because it was like, oh, well, we did. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
And then why are you giving me crap? I didn't get paid. And
yeah,
here you are getting paid. And
people would get. I had guys. I literally had guys that wouldn't believe me. When I'm like, honestly, man, no one. They never approached me. I guess they thought I was a snitch, and they never even approached me. But it turns out, I mean, we had some teammates that got suspended while we were there, and when I look back on, I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize that happened. Now that I look back on different things that happened while we were in school, I guess I was just so naive and in our own little bubble of the little house we had in our sweet little porch. I know, and our old school big screen. We had that old school big screen projector style TV. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Where the hell is that? They can't get that out of there.
No, we had to take the back off of it and push it in to get it into the house. I assume it's still sitting in the house.
Maybe.
I haven't been by to check, but I would assume it's still there because I don't think. I mean, no one's going to put forth that effort to get it out of there.
Well, especially now, that thing is an absolute relic. They don't make those anymore.
Well, and maybe they'd pay somebody to take it out because they might get some good money on like eBay or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually went back to that house. I did this thing through Hyundai. I don't think it was Players Tribute. No, I don't know what it was. It was just like this past fall.
It was a car thing. You did it with your uncle, right?
My uncle Dick, yeah. And
he awesome.
Oh, yeah. And so we went back to the guy actually renovated the house. It looks good. I didn't go inside, but the outside looks good. And I was talking to my uncle about it, and it's true. Part of like the whole thing we shot throughout that day, we went to the stadium, then we went back to the house that we lived at. So for people who don't know, me and you lived together in a dorm our freshman year, and then you can move out and you get a stipend check to pay your rent. We found a house right by campus. We moved into it. We stayed all 3 years, which doesn't happen a lot. A lot of guys were jumping around year to year to different apartments and houses. I was like, are you kidding me? We must have got lucky picking this place out because ours was like the central focal point of before anyone went out. We'd show up and we had this porch, and it was like the local meeting spot. So like there was a lot of great times that were had at that house.
Yeah, it was like waking Bobby up from his midday nap so he'd go to class. I think that house was awesome because of its location, but I think because we were there so long, 3 years of the same spot, you kind of got to know, you got to know the area. People figured out like, hey, like Bobby figured out he could take naps there. And it was a great experience. And I don't know why people move around as much as they do. It doesn't make sense. Like it seems like so much effort to move when I'm be like, we'll just stay here.
Yeah. Do you think is that still around for college athletes? Do you think they still live around campus like we did and stay together?
Well, you remember we were really one of few that actually stayed near campus. Most people went out. I forget what was the apartment complex?
There was Olentangy Commons that wasn't.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That was like the dorm B that everyone moved to. And so we were really the only people that lived close to campus, maybe a few other guys, but that was it.
Well, yeah, it was a
I think we were
special.
down by six.
Yeah, we're so lucky looking back on it now, thinking like, wow, yeah, after games, we would just grab our bag and you meet your family outside and you walk through the parking lot and go back to our house. Like we would have had a completely different college experience. I feel like if we lived far off of campus, it's almost like you're not in college then. You're just removed living with people my age, old guys with their kids.
Yeah, like I couldn't imagine having to get in a car after a game to drive home after a college game. Like it was great just being able to walk back. You walk through the tailgates and you get back to the house and you're done. Like we had an amazing setup.
Yeah, we did. We just stumbled upon it. I'm glad we did stay there. It made me realize that when I went back and did that stuff with my uncle, and I'm like, man, this house had a huge impact on a lot of people in my family too. Like that's how they remember Ohio State now. Like they're like, man, I miss this place. They all see it.
It probably helped that we had the poker table in the back room. That was always a big central focus.
Poker was big back then. I was just in Vegas for this Derek Jeter golf event. And I met Phil Hellmuth and talked to him for a while. I was like, man, I used to be deep into poker, Phil, back in the day.
Back in the day, I mean, you'd sit there and I remember chugging the Chipotle hot sauce for, I think it was like 2 extra chips to get back in. The addiction was real.
Yeah, we did. We had a nice little poker table. I think we got at Dick's. It was cheap, and we would sit around and play little house games. Whatever our buy-in would be, $5-10, and as you said, you could get creative and buy back in by chugging Chipotle, and who else knows what was in there.
Yeah. And then what I find funny is, especially now talking to other people, but the fact that we had a pet alligator, little Jimmy, blows people's minds when I tell them that. Like, especially now with the kids, like I told my son that we had a pet alligator. And he wouldn't believe me until Jenny was like, no, they did. His name was Jimmy. And, he was like, well, what do you eat? And like goldfish, we just throw them in there. It was awesome. I miss it. It was difficult not having – I was like, can I get it? So then I've been asking to get an alligator for the past couple of years, and my wife won't let me.
All right.
Like, he's fine.
Thoughts and prayers out to Jimmy. You're right. We lost him. Johnny.
R.I.P., man.
Our roommate, Johnny, took him home for winter breaker when we went on our last bowl trip and forgot the heat lamp, didn't he?
There's a couple of different stories. I try not to pin it all on Johnny because he was Jimmy's caretaker. He picked up the slack where we were letting off. So I feel like it was just Jimmy's time.
Right.
He gave us all that he could, scurrying around our living room. And letting him bite our fingers. He'd
get lost under our little Goodwill couch. We'd lose him under there, and some poor person would have to stick their arm under there and try to swipe Jimmy out of there. He was just starting to grow. He was just starting to really hit his stride, I feel like, and become like a mature little alligator too.
One biggest regret is I wish we would have gotten a leash for him. I think it would have been really cool to take him on walks. That would have been pretty awesome. But it's disappointing, to think back, and I do feel bad for Johnny because he took up the slack on that. He always made sure the tank was clean and everything, and that was kind of his baby. And so to have Jimmy go down on his watch was tough.
Yeah, I know he's still trying to get over. We didn't really think down the line, the road that far to where, okay, so what happens when Jimmy outgrows this tank and becomes like a legit threat to people's health everywhere?
No, we thought about it. We were going to put the kids' pool down in the basement.
Oh, you're right. I forgot.
Right by the laundry machine that didn't get used. So we had the kids' pool ready to go. The little plastic one. It would have been great. No one would have been able to go down there, but he would have a nice home.
It's like, have you seen this guy, Josh Rosen, the UCLA kid? He had a hot tub in his dorm room.
Nice.
Yeah, so maybe maybe Rosen was secretly hiding an alligator.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't using it as a hot tub. It was like a warming station for his alligator.
What was I wanted to ask you about Coach Tressel before we're done. What I guess compared to other coaches, like I think Coach Tressel is the man. He had a huge impact on everything that I've done and what I do now since I have kids. I know you have a fourth on the way, right? Congrats.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You are a virile man. I respect that. I respect that. So what was it for you, like as a leader, and how do you feel like he helped you while you were your 4 years in school?
I love Jimmy T to death. I thought he was awesome. The way that he handled that transition for a lot of us from high school to college. For a lot of us, first time leaving the home. Stepping up and being that person that was almost like a second father figure. Where you didn't want to get in trouble not because he would yell at you or get really mad, but because you didn't want to disappoint him. And so I think it was neat. I remember my first recruiting trip up there. I think it was just like a junior, like go walk around and look around. And I remember meeting him, and it was something happened with one of my sisters where they had a competition of some sort, and I remember somehow that came up in conversation, and that was the end of it. And then I showed up for the camp that summer and met him again, and he asked how my sister did in that competition. I was like, this man's amazing. Like, who remembers a small quick little conversation with some junior high school kid, and that kind of showed me right there the person that he is, and how much he cares about his players.
Yeah, he's the man. It's sad how he had to go out, or how they kind of got pushed out, had to resign at Ohio State. It doesn't change anything of how I feel about him, because I know who he is and how much he cared about each of us as people. And do you ever find yourself with your kids using some of the things that Coach Tressel taught you? Like for example, before my kids were a little bit younger, I still try to do it, but now they can sass back at me a little bit and tell me they don't want to. If I all right, guys, let's try to, before you go to bed, why don't you at least write down or tell me something that you're thankful or you're grateful for? Like, I do stuff from the winner's manual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little quiet time. I think one of the big ones, and what did he call you? What name did he use? Did he use AJ?
Yeah, he called me AJ.
He always referred to me as Nicholas.
Yeah, you're right.
And I don't know why, but I always thought it was something very like formal, and so that's something that's always stuck with me. He always, like, the only other person that calls me Nicholas is my mom, and so for him, like, I don't know why he did it, but it was something like. So I try to take, a lot of times people use nicknames and everything, and I'm a big nickname person because I can't remember anybody's names, but with my kids, like, I try to, if I'm not using their nickname, I use full name, just because I feel like it's something that it's like a respect level type thing.
Yeah, it does. It makes it, yeah, I guess it is like a respect thing. You're right. Real formal, and it stuck with you because you're right. Who else calls you by your full name other than your mom and Coach Tressel? Two people have pretty big impact on your life.
Yeah, exactly. Although I still call you Aaron, but that was just easier instead of yelling AJ, because then you wouldn't turn around if I yelled AJ, you wouldn't turn around. But Aaron, you turn around for.
That's true. Yeah, you do. I think you may be the only person that calls me Aaron, actually.
Yeah, well, it was the only way to get your attention in college, because there was plenty of people. You were kind of a big deal back then. Still somewhat. And so, we'd be out at a bar or something, and like anytime someone would yell AJ or some drunk Yahoo, like, you would ignore it. But so then if I yelled AJ, it would get ignored too, as I was a drunk in Yahoo. But if I knew that if I used Aaron, that would get your attention. So that's kind of how that stuck with me.
Okay, I never put that together.
That was my key. Yeah.
Well, good for you. So
thank you.
Yeah. So you have your own kids now. How sick are you of the question that people ask you? Are you going to let your son play football?
Very sick, but at the same time, it's still a question that lingers, especially in our town, where our small town here. It's still flag football. I think it's flag football up through second grade. We're still in first grade, which also kind of blows my mind that I remember things from first grade, and so now having kids, my oldest being old enough where I'm like, he's going to remember some things. I better not, mess anything up. It's freaking me out a little bit. But the football question, it's so, there's so many things going around, especially with, all the lawsuits and all the CTE and all the discussion about it. And, parents are concerned. But I think if you do play in a smart way, you pay attention to your kids, and, you hear the horror stories of a guy getting especially like high school football, a guy getting a concussion, throw up on the sideline, the coach puts him back in. Like, well, that's probably not a good thing. But where, the coach is in fault, but also where's the parent? Like, why isn't the parent watching too? To be like, no, my son's not going back out there. He's not right. So it's going to be difficult when the time comes, because I know, that question's going to be asked, and we're going to have that conversation, my wife and I, to try to figure out, what is best for him. And he really does love football, so he's enjoying it. He's enjoying his time at Flag. He's a much better runner than I was, so it's pretty cool to see him run around. So it'll be tough. I assume the same has to be for you,
Yeah, I have 3 little boys, so it's my 5-year-old plays Flag. He loves it. It's same thing. I basically have the same thoughts as you. Like, I will, if he wants to play, I wouldn't stop him. I'm not going to push him to do anything. Whatever he wants to play, he can, but I will pay attention. And I feel like I also have a keen eye on knowing when someone is dinged up. Like, I feel like I can watch a game and I can know, even if a shot doesn't look like one of those kill shots, I'm like, ooh, it looks, watch out, this dude's going to get up wobbly, or he's going to be weird. I don't know. So I'll just pay very, very close attention if he's playing tackle football, and do whatever you can. But have you had any head issues?
Not that I know of, other than, my own issues of just, I forget everything anyway. So,
do you have documented concussions?
I have one in the NFL, and then I had one in high school, which was wrestling, so it wasn't even football. I had one in the NFL. It was, it was just a freak thing. I sat out for 3 days and was fine ever since. And I've been pretty fortunate. I also I think I bother my wife a lot too, because I'll make a CTE joke every once in a while, and she does not like that, which is probably, not appropriate, but.
No, it's appropriate. You lived it. You can tell it. You can
Exactly.
You're allowed to. If you were a part of the place where the issue comes from, you can do it. But some guy that played professional badminton can't make CTE jokes.
I don't. Have you ever seen those cocks flying around? I mean, that could knock you out.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, the badminton cock. The thing that flies back and forth.
Yeah, I know about it. I didn't know that's the name of it. Okay, credit to you.
I'm pretty sure you might want to Google it, but I'm pretty sure.
You're a cultured man. What happened to when you got a concussion in the NFL? Was that in camp or was that during the season?
No, it was training camp.
You just get? Did someone come? How did what did it feel like, or how did it come about?
Well, it was we were the defensive lineman jumped off sides and knocked into me, and I wasn't ready for it. I was looking the other way, and so I wasn't prepared. Just got a little dizzy, a little dinged up. I got made fun of a lot for, basically taking a in-camp vacation. It was like, yeah, you really got dinged on that one. But it was just, they were being cautious. We had a great medical staff. My whole time, the same trainer was there my whole career. So, they were being cautious, and, it was nothing to write home about. I don't even know if I told Jenny. It was one of those things that happens. Like, I don't tell her when I sprain an ankle. It was just kind of the same thing.
What about your decision to you just recently officially retire? I remember, I don't know if you remember, speaking of brain trauma, you called me. You called me maybe whatever the first spring was after you were done in New York, and you called and asked about, like, hey, should I think you said something of, so they started like OTAs and mini camps and everything, and is it weird that I'm okay not being there? Mm-hmm. Something like that. And I said, you know what, man, I had a very, very similar feeling the first time I wasn't in a training camp or wasn't with an off-season program where everyone will tell you how you should feel. They tell you, oh, you're going to miss this, you're going to be dying, you're going to be depressed. And I remember thinking, like, first off, don't tell me how I'm going to feel. You're not me, A. And B, I was like, I'm okay. I mean, maybe that's myself, my body, everything lining up at the right time. Like, yeah, I'm okay with being done. Were you surprised that you felt that way early on?
I was, especially, so my season ended on IR with a foot injury. And then the Jets cut me in February, and I was still rehabbing. And I was still rehabbing at the time when I called you, which I didn't forget. So not today, CTE, not today. And so that was kind of the, I had a visit with Baltimore right before the off-season program started. They didn't offer a contract at the time. And so it was just kind of, they were waiting to see, how the rehab was going. And the rehab was going along, but I never got to a point where I felt like I could be me. I could be, the player that I want to be. And so they ended up offering a contract, which was, in retrospect, maybe I should have taken it. The money would have been good. And it was kind of one of those things where my foot didn't feel right. And I didn't have this urge to be like, well, let's push through it so I can be out there. And so, I told them I wanted to wait until my foot was right. And as the season, so all that went through, and then training camp hit, and I was like, well, maybe this is when I'll miss it. And training camp came and passed, and I didn't miss it, and still rehabbing the foot. And then season started. I was like, all right, week 1 is when I'm going to miss it, and it just never came around. And I don't know if it was because my foot didn't feel 100%, or if it just wasn't where it meant to be. But once looking back on it, especially after the season ended, this past season ended, I did some stuff at the Super Bowl where people were asking, are you going to play? Are you not going to play? And I was like, I don't know. But looking back on it now, I knew. I should have known then, but I just couldn't see it, that I was in a good spot. I was happy being the stay-at-home dad, that and all that entails of the craziness of drop-off and pickup and swim lessons and everything, where I didn't need football to fill my time. There are things that I miss. I miss the locker room, being able to hang out with the guys. I miss the hot and cold tub. Ours at the facility were right next to each other. So be able to do a little contrast, get a little soak in, that is number one on my list of misses. But other than that, I still love football. It's not like it went away that I don't love it, but I just don't have to do it anymore, which is nice.
When did Baltimore offer you that contract?
I think it was right before I called you, because that's when it got real to where it was like, if I sign, I'm going to have to show up, tomorrow, and they have an OTA the next day. So it was like, that's when it got real. Instead of the abstract, hey, is this, do you want to play? Do you not want to play? Where it became real, like, hey, there's a contract that fits what you want. If you sign it, you could be playing tomorrow.
And would you have been able to go practice right away? Wasn't your foot was still not right?
Yeah, right. The foot still wasn't right, so I would have been, basically down there with the trainers trying to rehab and get right before, because I was on schedule. My full schedule was to be ready to go for training camp. That was my plan after the injury, and so I probably would have missed mandatory minicamp as well, rehabbing. So it would have been a process, but I didn't want to go and not be able to be who I was.
Mm-hmm. Did you have surgery on that foot?
No, I was fortunate enough not to have surgery, because I guess if I had surgery, it would have pushed it, the recovery time much more. So luckily I didn't have to go under the knife, although those couple of seconds right before you go under was always a nice flyaway for a little bit.
That's like what a guy that's 20 years sober says.
No, it's not. I was very fortunate. I only had 2 surgeries my whole career, and one I don't even think they needed to put me under, but they did anyway. And that's what I found out, that I was like, this is kind of a cool experience where you just kind of float away, and then you wake up, sometime later, and they're like, all right, surgery went well. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. It didn't. That's exactly how Michael Jackson felt too at the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, well, luckily I got to wake up. So, I actually went to a hospital, and not just, have some guy inject me in my bedroom.
Yeah, man. No,
that's when it gets bad, when you're doing it in your own bedroom. You probably might have a problem.
Yeah, I'm really tired. I just can't get to sleep, Doc. Toss me some of that propofol. Yeah, right in the vein there.
Just straight shot. Get it in there.
I mean, that's a scary world. Prince, you see, we lost Prince to pills, everything, man.
I know. It's dangerous. You see, especially what's going on just in the country in general, the opioid crisis. You see people, otherwise normal people, that just go down this dark path. And, it's tough because it ruins so many families. And I know Ohio's getting hit hard right now, the rural areas there. So, it's crazy to think going through the NFL and, the different ways to keep yourself going, that those could also be the same ways that get people to go down that dark path.
Oh, no question. Couple that with multiple concussions, all kind of things. Yeah, it doesn't end well for some people. So, yeah, I think me and you are lucky, man. We got out alive. We got out doing all right.
Yeah, doing well. I mean, relatively.
Yeah, okay.
Kids are driving me crazy, but
yeah. What about your beard? What about your beard and your hair? Is that staying for good?
Yeah, well, it's not going anywhere for now. Like, the beard is going to be great, and I look forward to many years down the road where my hair starts falling out and I can shave the head and just go shaved head and full beard. But I figure while the hair is still here, I'll keep it. And, I won't let it get to a Hulk Hogan situation where you're rocking the skullet. But, as soon as that first sign, I'll trim it down and regain some of my respectful nature of having not looking so ridiculous.
I think you're first off, I've seen your dad. No, you're good. I think your hair is going to be around for a long time. And B, I think you're going to be Rob Ryan with the crazy long gray hair. You could get that someday.
So the first time I saw Rob, I knew that Rex had a twin brother, but I never really looked into it all that much. First time I saw him, it was the AFC Championship game. We were playing Indianapolis, and we're sitting in the hotel the night before the game, and all of a sudden I saw Rob walk by, and I had never seen him before. And Brickshaw was sitting right next to me, and I was like, oh, my God. Rex was wearing a wig, and he gained a whole bunch of weight. And Brick goes, no, man, that's his brother. I'm like, I don't think so. That was Rex. He goes, no, that's his twin brother, Rob. I was like, no way. And so since then, I've been able to meet Rob a handful of times and hang out with him. And he is, the two of them together are just a riot. Like, I think they're the definition of the Bash Brothers. They are hilarious together.
Rob seems like the man with that crazy long gray hair. I remember there'll be pictures when he was in New Orleans coaching. They show him like out at a bar 9 minutes after a Monday night game that they just won. He's hanging out with the fans. Like, he sounds like the best.
He is, and I think there was one time he got to be in the Mardi Gras parade, and so he's hanging off one of the floats, just beer in hand, throwing beads. But both of them, I mean, they're both they're the exact same attitude where they'll go sit at a bar and just hang out with fans and wouldn't think twice about it. They're just there as a regular person because that's who they are.
Oh, it's awesome. I think Rob was with him when Rex was coaching in Buffalo. I think he and Rob got in a fight at some bar, and they got some of it on video.
I thought you there?
Yeah, you pixelated for a second. Yeah, where was that?
Yeah, I think talked that he was going to continue, but I think it was Buffalo. They were together.
He cut out on me.
Cut out. Am I still here?
Yeah.
No?
There you are. Yeah, you're back. You're back. What it cut? Was it? Were they in Buffalo or not when they got in that little scuffle?
I think they were in Buffalo then. It wasn't in New York because they would have been blown up 10 times as big if they were in New York.
Yeah, man. And now Rex is on ESPN. I know Rob's doing radio and different things, some kind of media deal. You ever watch Rex on the ESPN show?
I do, and it started out slow, but I think he found his footing towards the end. I don't think he's made for commentating games. I don't think that's his gig. But I think sitting on couches, kind of just shooting the shit with the guys, that's more his style. And it's pretty funny. Although I'd like to see him get another shot at a head coaching job because I think he'd do well with it. I think a lot of times you see head coaches when they get fired and immediately go to another place. They don't think it was their coaching style or their coaching whatever they were doing. They think it was outside forces, and so they stick with the same thing. I heard that with Eric Mangini when he got fired, and he went straight to Cleveland, talking with Joe Thomas out there, and I was like, our stories were exactly the same. I was like, oh, so he's doing the exact same thing. Same up in Buffalo, talking to guys up in Buffalo. I was like, oh, so Rex didn't change at all. But I think now sitting out, I think he's got a better appreciation of what it takes to be a head coach and how to go about doing it. So I'd really love to see him get another shot because I think it would be a lot of fun. I think it'd be good for the fans too.
Oh my God, I think it would be. I want him to get another gig just because I'm a fan of watching his press conferences and everything. I mean, he's much more in his element doing those press conferences and how he handles people than he is wearing a suit, sitting on a couch, trying to get his point across in a minute and a half.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And some of those press conferences were legendary of him. He the one time he actually came out dressed as Rob, which was funny. It would be him going off the cuff, and it was like Rex's comedy half hour. What's he going to say next? And it was awesome.
Would he do that in team meetings? Like, would he come in and liven things up?
Oh yeah. The very first was 2000. His first year was 2009. We had a West Coast trip. And he comes in, and he was never big on. He wanted like business casual was our travel, business casual suit-esque, somewhere in between. It was all over the place. But we're about to fly out to play a West Coast game, and he gets up there in team meetings. He's like, "Listen, gentlemen, we're going out to suits. We got business to attend to," and everyone's groaning because 6-hour flight in a suit is just uncomfortable. And all of a sudden he goes, and I want you to look at, and he was wearing like a full tracksuit. He goes, and I want you wearing, there's no way you're going to look as good as me. Get out your sweatsuits. We're traveling sweatsuits. And it was just like, wait, why is this comedy hour when, you're the head coach and we should be, more serious. But I think that him having that attitude made guys want to play with him, play harder for him because they didn't want to disappoint him because it was like, this guy really believes in us. He has the faith that we're going to go do our jobs, and let's make sure we go out there and do it. And it was a lot of fun. Those Rex years, there were some terrible things that happened, but there were also some really fun things that happened.
Yeah, a guy like that, you want to win for him. Like, I remember I've done that before. Okay, guy, we need to win. Like, trust me, you don't. If he gets canned, they're going to bring in the opposite of this guy and try to make this place a straight dictatorship. So let's win for him if you want to still enjoy playing football.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And I remember we had that. Remember Rob Sims and I had that conversation our junior year. We're like, listen, we need to pick this up because I don't think we're that great. It was like, we need to pick this up because we all love coaches here, and if we don't pick ourselves up, things could go south. And so those conversations are real. Oh
yeah, they're very real. So, all right, man, appreciate you coming on here. Sorry if I kept you too long. I know you came from swim lessons, so you were in the pool.
Oh yeah, we were in the pool. You got to work on the floating and the jumping in the pool and climbing out and everything.
Is this like a little swim center or a rec center? Or what?
Yeah, it's like a little swim. It's a swim specific, like in the little strip mall where they got a pool. They got the little cabanas so you can get changed, and it's all specific to like swim lessons and everything. And it's a riot seeing. I had to take the two little ones with me. So little Tom Tom's 2 and Eloise is 3.5, and I mean it is a good time. I mean I can only imagine, moms who are there that like do this on a regular basis. Like, wow, this guy really does not have his stuff together. He's just all over the place. But it's fun, and it's neat to see the kids as they grow with the swimming because I was always a big swimmer, so they need to know how to do it too.
I would just love. So I know like the little swim. My kids, I take them to the same kind of swim place. There's a big. It's all enclosed in glass from the pool, and you can sit right outside the glass if you're not in swimming with them. The kids are a little bit older, and you're not in with them. And I can just imagine. I can picture you walking in there. I see like the dads and moms that are going in with the real little kids, and I would love to see you in the lineup holding your little guys ready to go in.
Yeah, I mean, especially like that whole wall of glass.
Yeah.
It's like something at the zoo. Like, hey, let's watch these idiots jump in. And so, yeah, I mean, it's got to look ridiculous. I can only imagine how goofy it is, especially since, like, I let him kind of do his own thing. Like, it's all structured and everything. I'm like, let's just jump now. And, so we're all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Tell people that you're their Manny. You're not even their dad.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm the Manny.
I'm the Manny. He's a dedicated Manny. He jumps in. Look at it. You know the big burly guy with the beard and hair? He's such a good Manny. We need to hire him away if he ever quits them.
Yeah, we need to poach him. I've been using the Manny a lot more recently. I've noticed, like, anytime I'm going out with one of them, I every once in a while I'll be like, I'm just the Manny. We're at the grocery store or something. Because it's also fun to see their reactions, especially like if I end up taking them. Jersey's got crazy laws with their liquor stores and everything, so you have to go to a specific store if you want beer, wine, or liquor. And so anytime I take a kid there, and I give them I'm just the Manny. I get the side. I'm taking the kid to the liquor store.
Good for you, man. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, thank you very much, man. Appreciate you coming on. I'll talk to you again down the line for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And, I tried to get the green screen going for you, but it was tough,
You kind of do. You kind of do have the green screen going.
Yeah, with the wine bottles behind me and everything. So
you're good.
It worked. Yeah.
No worries. All right, man. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
All right.
We're glad you could join us for today's conversation. After you subscribe to the show, head over to thehawkcast.com or reach out to AJ directly on Twitter at @officialAJHawk to recommend future guests that will help us inspire people to keep talking. Thanks again, and we look forward to speaking with you next time on the HawkCast.